friends.
$900. And then they just keep us updated on the news.
5 months before the actual election, and then it's just, let's just wait some time.
I think
It's just not right to go through it. One person, they went to her house 16 times to get her to sign a petition.
we're doing 60 and then
Someone does have time on their hands.
I would have signed that as somebody else.
Right. They made the signature not match, so.
Yeah, so then,
Yeah, 16 times. That's not coercion, I don't know what it is. But it is what it is.
my girls are young, so they're
The people that, what I'm worried about is.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just, we are live on, we just got live on YouTube at 5.
135 counted this morning.
Oh, there's 110 last week, so not very many.
135.
6, 7, 8, 10. Just,
So 110 would be all of their votes. Because that's how many. But yeah, until somebody steps forward and actually says, hey, following a logical formal complaint, it's he said, she said stuff. Yeah. It's the game we play.
We can hear somebody. Is it 5:01?
It's 5:02.
I walked up here.
I don't think I'm chairman anymore, so.
You're not chairman anymore, what do you mean?
The first meeting, it turns out, was just pretend.
Oh, so we need to elect a chairman.
I think so.
Okay. So, first order, welcome everyone. I guess I'll be chairman for a minute. We're here for the budget committee meeting. And so,
the delay.
hang on one
what
second.
does that mean?
Okay.
A couple seconds ago.
Boy. You guys didn't want to hear me in the first time around.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Okay. Test, test. Test, test.
I had to mute us.
That was just me saying test twice. Okay, so welcome to the 2026 budget meeting, the budget committee. And so the first order of business is to accept nominations for the budget committee chair. So do I hear any nominations? Yes.
Mike Duffy.
Okay, so Mike Duffy, do you accept said nomination?
Sure.
Okay, are there any other nominations? All right, so let's have a vote. All in favor of Mike Duffy being chairman of the budget committee, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll turn it over to our new chair, Mike Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor. The last meeting we had, as I said a moment ago, it's my understanding that some protocols were not properly in place. And so this is actually the meeting of the budget committee. Now, some things that did come up last meeting, though, did have to do with things like, it's okay, I seem to have entered a time warp.
Sometimes the Zoom echoes.
I transferred it to you.
I think we got it.
Anyway, so at the outset, because there was some conversation about the RV park and the other park and the city owning and not owning, and there were some comments made that had to do with the disposition of those properties. And I'd like to make it very clear, I have no intention of buying or operating an RV park, the one that belongs to the city or any other one. And so there's no conflict of interest there for me in that regard or any other. I think I can make my decisions based on what I think is best for the community. The only other potential conflict of interest is that I live here and pay taxes and fees just like I think just about everybody here. As chairman, I'll ask if there are any other such comments that need to be made to preface our remarks for the meeting.
I have no interest. I have the same interest as you, not putting more on my plate and running an RV park.
Very well. Okay, now we do have the budget message then, and I think Mike's prepared a nice presentation for us.
Yes, thanks, Mike. And first, I want to thank everybody from the committee. I know we have a couple folks that couldn't make it. Justin Morris fighting a fire, so it's a good reason. Amanda is actually on Zoom with us, so she's joining us. But first of all, thank you all for volunteering to be on the budget committee. We appreciate it. It's never easy to volunteer because you don't get paid, and I appreciate your passion.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Two things. Somebody on the speaker just said they cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Can you?
Sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me. Yeah, we've had this issue with Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hang on one second, because we're having
Yeah.
feedback. Can you hear that now?
No.
Okay, you're confusing me, because you said it right on cue, you couldn't hear us. Was that just a lucky guess?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear us now, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself. I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, and
I can hear you guys now.
Lucky guess.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
There's your echo.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay, so the second thing is, for the record, I wonder if we could please just go around and introduce ourselves. Mike Duffy on the budget committee. I'd like that we go this way, please. Okay, so the second
This way?
Yeah.
Okay. Phyllis Shabelsky, Budget Committee. Carol Lee Stevens, Budget Committee. Joan Sonnenberg, Councilwoman.
Jesse Holden, Councilmember.
Jamie Enright, Councilmember.
Richard Thu, council.
Chad Ray, Mayor.
Berlin Anderson, Council.
That's our staff.
You forgot Keith.
Oh, Katie Barthel, Budget Committee.
Okay, thank you. And of course, Mike from the staff. And then we have, you said Minda's online as a member of the budget committee, is that right?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, are there any other attendees that are voting members of the committee? Okay, hearing none.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to kill this thing. Hey guys, I apologize. I'm gonna have to kill this Zoom because it's just causing too much distractions. So hopefully I'll get it fixed here in just a minute. Hey guys, I apologize. I'm gonna have to kill this. I'm just gonna kill it.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't even know.
There's like a 3-second.
Yeah, put on speakers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably your best bet.
Does Carol want
So.
I've got Mindy on here.
Okay,
Oh, perfect.
that's what I was saying,
Yeah,
let's
why don't
just
we
do
just
that.
do that because it's.
Yeah, I've got her.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
mean,
you.
for records keeping purposes, we have our recorder, kind of like the old days. So, I mean, no one needs to really see us on Zoom at this point.
So Mindy gets the vote though, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, she's
Okay.
a good part of it.
So, you okay with that, Mindy?
Whoop, where'd you go?
Cool. Okay, now I think we're over to Mike and staff to make
All
a
right,
presentation.
so I could say jokes about Echo, but I'll just hold that to myself. I'm sure everyone's heard that many times over the years, so.
We already had one set, so it's
Did we? Okay. Thanks, Counselor. Okay, here we go. No Echo. But, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Budget Committee, citizens of Echo, pleased to present the proposed budget for the City of Echo for the fiscal year 26-27. This budget was prepared during a challenging financial period for a small city across Oregon, especially ours. ECHO continues to face the same pressures impacting households, businesses, local governments. We're talking inflation, rising insurance costs, increased contract costs, limited new resources and revenues, and more competitive environment for state and federal grant funding. The city has worked hard to maintain core services while also realistic about the financial limits that we face. The proposed budget is conservative, strategic, focuses on protecting essential services, maintaining infrastructure, supporting employees, and positioning ECHO for future growth. Budget conditions and major cost pressures. Several major cost drivers shape this year's budget proposal. First, the city's facing 4% increases in the police services contract, 4% increase in the public works contract. These contracts provide essential services to the community, and while the increases are not unexpected, they do place additional pressures on the general fund and utility funds. Second, employee health insurance costs are projected to increase by around 14%. This is one of the most significant cost pressures in the budget. Health insurance continues to rise faster than general inflation and remains a major challenge for small employees and employers, including local governments. Third, property and liability insurance costs are projected to increase by another 4%. These insurance costs are necessary to protect city assets, its facilities, our equipment. Finally, inflation continues to affect nearly every category of city spending, including supplies, fuel, utilities, materials, equipment, professional services, and maintenance. Even when the city holds the line on spending, the cost of doing business continues to rise. Percent cost and staff compensation. The proposed budget includes a modest 3% cost of living increase for city staff and 2% CPI factored in for a total of 5% raises. ECHO's employees work extremely hard for the residents of this community, often performing multiple duties in extremely hard conditions. They work hard for the residents in this small city environment where staffing is limited. The expectations are obviously very high. This proposed increase is intended to help the city remain fair and competitive, recognize the dedication of staff, and respond to the real impact inflation has had on household expenses, and we know that we're all feeling it. The recommendation is modest, responsible, and consistent with the city's overall conservative approach for this year. There's really limited revenue growth. The city of ECHO has very limited options for generating new revenue. Property taxes remain one of the city's primary revenue sources, but under Oregon's property tax system, annual growth is very limited, as we all know. ECHO does not have a local sales tax, and unlike cities in Washington, Oregon cities generally do not have access to business and occupation tax revenues. This means the city must rely heavily on careful budgeting, user fees, grants, modest utility revenue, and responsible management of existing resources. ECHO has significant long-term economic development potential, including the developable land that could support housing, commercial activity, and industrial growth. However, some of that development potential is currently being slowed or blocked by transportation-related barriers and requirements from ODOT. Until these issues are resolved, the city's ability to grow its property tax base and attract new investment remains very limited. Federal and state funding environment. In recent years, small cities benefited from small one-time temporary funding sources, including ARPA funds and infrastructure-related programs. Much of that money has now been spent, allocated, and is no longer available at the same levels. The city also recognizes that federal grant funding has become more challenging to secure. With the current administration in Washington, D.C., priorities and eligibility requirements have shifted, and many federal programs are more competitive or uncertain. ECHO will continue to pursue every reasonable grant opportunity, but the city cannot build an operating budget around money that may not materialize. This budget therefore takes a cautious approach. Grant funding will be pursued aggressively, but ongoing expenses must be supported by stable and realistic revenue sources. Strategic revenue recovery. One of the area of focus in this budget is improving cost recovery at the RV park and mobile home parks in the future. Historically, the city has absorbed certain costs associated with these facilities, including utilities and maintenance. As utility costs and operating expenses continue to increase, the city must evaluate whether current rents and fees are sufficient to cover the cost of providing services. The proposed budget assumes the city will continue reviewing rental rates, utility charges, lease terms, and infrastructure needs at both the RV park and mobile home park. The goal is not to create an unreasonable burden on residents, but to ensure the city is not subsidizing private residential use in any way that harms the overall budget or creates fairness issues for other utility customers and taxpayers. Any changes will need to be handled carefully, legally, and appropriately, and with noticing of affected tenants, and that's something we've talked about, Council. Strategic cuts and cost controls. Because new revenue is limited, this budget also includes a focus on strategic reductions. The city is reviewing expenses such as cable, phone services, office supplies, subscriptions, software, equipment, other operating costs to identify savings where possible. The goal is not to cut essential services, but to reduce unnecessary and outdated expenses. Small savings across multiple departments can help offset rising contract, insurance, and personnel costs. The city will continue to look for efficiencies in administration, public works, coordination, purchasing, technology, and facility operations. This budget reflects a practical approach, protects core services, reduces waste, and avoids unnecessary spending. Overall, the general fund supports many of the city's core government services, including administration, law enforcement, planning, parks, library support, community services, and insurance, and general city operations. The general fund is under pressure due to rising police contract costs, insurance costs, personnel-related expenses, and limited property tax growth, as I just mentioned. This fund will require close monitoring throughout the fiscal year. The proposed budget attempts to maintain current service levels while identifying savings, like I just mentioned. I don't need to repeat that. The street fund. Do you guys want me to read each line?
I don't.
Okay, because I know you guys have had this. But...
I've already read it.
Okay, good. And I figured everyone had read it, and I'm a pretty good reader out loud. I did it many years, but I figured you don't need me to read the entire thing. But, to wrap a bow on it, council and committee members, we tried to be really fiscally responsible. I was pretty adamant to try to get the staff at 5%. I am in there at 3%, which basically makes us flat to what Dave was making last year. Obviously that's at your discretion. I feel strongly if I don't get a raise, I would rather see them get a little bump. Really feel strongly about the work ethic that the staff has had. What they bring to the table. The other areas that we just couldn't avoid, big increases, like I said, health insurance and those kind of things. So you really won't see anything fiscally irresponsible in the sense like I'm asking for a capital item that we don't need a camera or these type of things. We're making do with what we have this year, and really the costs that you've seen increase are really not of our doing. So tried to manage that as best as I could. And what I'd like to do, Chair, is if you're comfortable with it, go through a little bit of the budget presentation that I have here. And so I know we have some members of the public here that may want to see this. And I know we do have a public comment period if necessary. So would you like me to do the budget presentation first?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I've got it up here. I can kind of twist it a little bit. Can everybody see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is really just meant to be a high-level overview of the proposed budget, which the total is $3,618,607, and the increase overall 2.17%, 2.17%, 76,979. So overall 2.2 percentage overall increase. Again, managing those significant cost pressures, and I've broken it really where you can see percentage-wise. Health insurance went up 14%. PERS pretty significantly as well. Police contract 4%, public works 4%, property insurance 4%, inflation ongoing. It's just sort of those core services that you would expect to rise. And it's not just us that's feeling it, obviously the private sector, the public public sector. What I did here was just give you a graphic, kind of a general overview with a pie chart of what the amount that's in each fund. You know, some of the feedback that I got from the public and some committee members and even some council members. You know, can you parse out what's in the budget across the different funds? Because I know sometimes these Excel spreadsheets get pretty complex and confusing. So I tried to make it as simple as possible because I'm learning the budget as well. So, you know, this has been a learning process for me as well. And the general fund, you know, close to $800,000, and you can see some of the reason I parsed that out was so you can see some of the things that are in there. The general fund supports a lot of things, law enforcement contract, garbage contract, you know, capital outlays like parks and things of that nature. Our next largest fund is the Golf Enterprise Fund. Golf is really a business that we run. It's a $500,000 business essentially. So total budget there is close to $450,000 at that $434,000 level. And everything in the golf payroll expenses, water, lease for golf carts, electrical, alcohol purchases, you name it. I mean, we cash flow, we've got receivables and payables. There's a lot happening in golf, so it's a lot to manage. And you know, I think we're doing a solid, really good job at the golf course. And then golf reserve fund, we've got the $25,000. Obviously, it would be nice to build the reserves in there, but you know, you really got to make a lot of money to start building reserves, and that's the goal this next fiscal year. The library fund overall, about $118,000. You know, much of that is funded by the library district, so we're grateful for that. That funds, you know, a lot of the library and its salary. You can see kind of how the expenses break out there. Street fund, it's about $80,000 budget. Just kind of roll through these real quick. Sewer enterprise, obviously sewer is our big money maker. It's our enterprise fund, one of our enterprise funds, and it's, you know, vastly how we support the city. Sewer reserve fund, have about 130 grand in there. Our water enterprise fund, that's obviously our other big enterprise fund. Water and sewer, garbage are a huge support for the city. Our water construction fund, so that's really what makes our budget, you know, hit into that $3 million mark. And this is the money that is allocated for phase 3 of the water project. So that's why that number is so big. So that money we can't touch for anything but the water project, which everybody on council knows, and the community who have been here. Dave did an amazing job getting the grants and, you know, really getting our water infrastructure up to where it really needs to be. Water reserve fund, as you see. This debt service fund, this is kind of well, Dave explained to me, and you guys probably know better, it's sort of like a hangover from a bond that we had years ago. So it's in there, and
Yeah, and we can't get rid of it yet because there's still a potential for some money to show up. It's not much, like a few dollars, but it still has to be there until that completely.
And the way it was explained to me was, you have some folks who pay their taxes a little late, so we're still paying that. They still owe on that part of the bond, so it just sort of stays alive, if you will. So that's why you see that small amount. The Community Development Fund, you know, that's been a pretty stagnant fund. I haven't touched it since I've been here in my 5 months. And you know, that's a fund that we could tap into, if, you know, for trees, seed, sod, plants, things of that nature. If you wanted to do some kind of, maybe we need to upgrade our RDO system, and, you know, things like that. We just haven't touched it in a while. So I made a little budget narrative here, and hopefully council and committee, you had a chance to read some of these. And I just really wanted to parse out some of the numbers. As you can see, the exact amount going up is $76,979. PERS was pretty significant, and I think one of the reasons PERS is more significant, Anna went on to become full-time late last year. Tanya moved into a different role at a higher salary. I came on board. So we have 4 full-time employees, and then also Candy Dickerson also contributes to PERS because she's worked here quite a while. You know, by Oregon law, you work so many hours per year, you have to contribute to PERS. It's not a huge amount each paycheck, but it is something. So anyhow, you can see that our health insurance is increasing a little bit more than $12,000. Public Works contract is increasing $7,000. Police contract is over $3,000. The audit's going to go up a little bit. So, and over 40% of the total budget increases are attributable to PERS, health insurance, and some of those costs. Again, I broke out some of the largest increases to the budget. Public Works contract, payroll expenses. Golf season was just a little bit, you know, and that can fluctuate depending on how disciplined we are up there. Some of the salary increases, and I broke it out by largest percentage. So as you can see, I like graphs and I like to explain things, and sometimes I've been accused of over-explaining, but I'd rather give council and the committee more information and ask questions. But that's kind of the high level overview, if you will. So again, kind of to wrap a bow on it, you know, we maintain essential services, we support public safety, supports water sewer operations, invests in employees, addresses rising insurance costs. You know, and as a result, we have proposed 8% water increase, 4% sewer. We have proposed moving the public safety. It's not a tax; it's a fee. Want to make sure it's not a tax for the public out there. It is a fee to $10 from $6, and you know, comparing that with Stanfield, I think they charge $13-14 for their public safety fee. Obviously, they're a little bit bigger town.
Does
But
part of that money go to 911 or?
it can, you know, overall, 911 also increased. So 911 went from about 11,000 to almost 14,000. So they increased as well by 6%. So that's another rising cost that I didn't put in there. I got that late. So that's another thing that attributes to the increases. But yeah, to answer your question, Carl, yes, you can allocate that to the 911 services. So I think overall, between 911 and just the police contract, we pay roughly $100,000 for public safety. So any questions at this point? I do have other.
Well, we have 11 to 12 people, and in less than half an hour. And so, to me, it's really important that everybody has a chance to weigh in. And then we have possible comments from members of the attending public. And what I see, Mike, is much like what we saw the last time. We've gone over some of this stuff 3 times now, but there have been a number of changes. And so I hope everybody has the packet with you there. And if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is just go around, let everybody have a chance
Absolutely.
to say something with a comment or to ask a question. And that'll give everybody at least a chance to speak. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I do not want to let this steamroll over everyone so that we don't get a chance to put your voice. Berlin, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with yourself.
Sure.
And we'll go around, just clear around the table.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I appreciate all the graphs and the charts. It does break it down for me, so thank you for that, Mike. And all the line items, which can be overwhelming. But no, a lot of these things have to happen, so I appreciate it being conservative in spending and only increasing just over 2%, which I feel like that's like the best you could probably do with the health insurance and the PERS and all the contracts that we pretty much need to renew, unless we can negotiate the percentages with those contracts. I feel like this is the best budget you could have came up with. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll echo Berlin's sentiment. It's tough when everything goes up 4% or more to keep a budget at only going up 2%. So kudos for that. Hopefully that works out. I did have a couple of questions though. On the legal, in the general fund, you have $5,000 for legal, which is what we had last year. And as everybody might not be aware of, there is a legal challenge that could potentially cost us in the tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars brought by the Fife family against our comprehensive plan and zoning and codes. So that's going before LUBA. LUBA has asked Mike and his crew to get every single document for the 25-month period that went on. So that may not go anywhere once LUBA gets it, and if it doesn't, then great, because we think we have a good case. We don't think they met the timelines, blah, 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 but we'll wait and see what LUBA says. They have the final say. But if it does go before the Land Use Board of Appeals, then we'll have to be represented by a lawyer, and that will cost us $275 an hour.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think 5,000 is going to address that.
No, and that was something I wanted to discuss, and yeah, it is a concern. You know, I'm hoping for best case scenario to where right now I'm extracting every paperwork I can find, and so the process essentially is such where I've really tried to limit my conversations with our legal advisor to so far one meeting. So my task at this point, so the public knows, is so I'm gathering every document, every audio file, video file that existed and that pertains to that process. I need to put it together in chronological order, send it to LUBA, you know, as our record. What we can't get by, I can't represent the city as a city manager. We do have to be represented by a legal firm, which we do have a city attorney, Jennifer Kern. How long that will take, you know, a lawyer will never tell you just exactly how many hours that's going to take. I have inquired, so that's a huge concern. So, and that is a conversation that I wanted to have here because I knew it would come up. You know, what should we budget? I don't know at this point because it could cost us $2,500 if it's real quick, or it could go into the tens of thousands. You know, I've been on that side of the equation too. I think that the next step for us is really reaching out to CIS and seeing, you know, maybe the risk pool could provide an attorney, you know, through our insurance. But I don't see that happening at this point because we haven't been officially sued, we haven't been served. You know, it's more of a process than litigation at this point. You know,
So are you thinking then to do if it does go
I'm
that
thinking
route,
amendment.
the worst case scenario, do a budget amendment?
That's what I'm
later?
thinking. Like I'm gonna pray to the budget gods that, you know, everything goes well, because, you know, I think as I reviewed the process, I think it was solid and strong and legal.
Yeah.
But I'm not a lawyer, so. But I think we should get to that bridge when we're about to cross it and say, okay, public, we're gonna have to make this amendment. But I'm hoping for the best is what I was thinking.
I know it's not my turn yet, but since we're on this subject, where do you, looking at this budget, thank you, Chad, you preempted the same question I had, is where do you think that money would come from to pay for this?
You have to pull from your contingency plans. That doesn't
Yeah,
You could get rid of flowers. I know that's like
Yeah.
$3,000 or $4,000 worth of flowers that would pay for a lawyer. Some of the street stuff could be
You have
put
like
on the back burner.
12,000 on trees and soils. There's
Right.
2 places in your budget right now, you can pull from there as well.
Yeah, there are some places, but they won't necessarily be popular, but
right.
it won't sink the, sorry, I'm
No, I'm with you. You're taking the words right out of my
Okay.
mouth.
It won't sink the water, sewer, the core city
Yeah.
services.
Would we ever have to consider taking out a loan to pay for that?
I've never been a part of a jurisdiction that's had to do that. I mean, I've seen us taking from our own GIP. When I was at Sunnyside, we had to dip into, those investment funds. That's obviously not ideal, but it is, at least in Washington, I obviously have to check the Oregon statutes to make sure that's okay. But I've done that before, as city manager. So, I mean, obviously that's a last resort. You want to pull from your contingencies and, make budget amendments and kind of move some stuff around that you can, and just hope that the bill doesn't rise.
Well, I'm sure most lawyers would be willing to wait till the next budget session to get paid, wouldn't they?
If you know that lawyer counselor, please refer them to
I'll be glad to
541.
Richard's gonna have his law degree by then.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's something to consider.
In any case, the short answer, it's gonna go to a budget amendment, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a long ways down the road, and maybe.
Okay.
Right. But a good question, because, it does keep me up at night.
I do like to, in budgeting, I like to be prepared try to figure
Yeah,
out
it
as
is.
many
What if?
curveballs, yes,
Yeah.
anticipate those things if
Yes.
you can, because it saves a lot of work down the road. But
Yeah, great
but
question.
okay. Then looking at sewer and water, if you look at the enterprise fund for water, your water, you've got budgeted for $205,000 at an 8% increase that would come out to $210,600. So are you thinking that maybe some water users will drop off or use less water? Sorry, I don't know I don't have a page number on here, right? But it's Water Enterprise Fund under Resources, under Water Sales. And I have the same question with the sewer. The sewer doesn't calculate out to the same percentage of the rate increase.
I think so.
And I'm going off of the adopted 2025, 2026 numbers to get my calculation. So we don't have those final numbers yet of what was actual for
Which one right now, Chad? Sorry, final page.
Water Enterprise. Here on sewer.
Oh,
That's this.
How many pages in?
Water Enterprise Fund.
It's
okay.
1, 2, 3, 4 from the back. Yeah, 4 from the back. And it's the 1, 2 line down through. Water sales, it goes cash carryover, reconnect fees.
There you go.
Water sales.
Stop scrolling.
Right there,
Yeah, that's easier for me to find out.
right there.
Third line down. Underwater sales.
195 went to 205.
I'm just curious if you were trying to be conservative with that number or if there's something else going on.
No, I always do the conservative. So, I mean, I can't say, I was calculating when I was working with Dave a little bit on the budget. That was sort of the message it's
I
better.
mean, it's income, so it's better to have it a
Right.
little lower, and I get that, I just didn't know your thoughts.
Yeah, that was, like, I like to be conservative, to be honest with you. I'd rather not over calculate than under calculate, so, yeah, I mean, that was my thinking there.
Okay, and then my last question is I did some math. Sorry, I like spreadsheets too. When you put this out here like this, I'm gonna go through it. So
I should have known.
we have a proposed. Dave should have warned you.
He didn't.
So with the homes potentially coming in, and what I understand about ODOT allowing them to have 19 homes and not 20, it sounds like they were,
Yeah, it'd be 29.
oh, 29, well, sorry, I'm 10 off.
It's
But anyway,
29.
the math. If they add 19 homes, that would increase the general fund by 15%, based on an assessed value of $225,000 per home, which is, I'm kind of low there because they were thinking 275 to 3.25.
Yeah.
But the assessed value is always lower than real market value. That's a 15% increase. Are we thinking that they're not going to be able to have, and that's only 19 homes, not 29, but are we thinking they're not going to be able to put any of those homes in this year, or are we just assuming they're not and reap the benefits if they do?
That's what I'm thinking, because, I mean, I've talked to Heath quite a bit. I know they're going to start moving ground in July, August, if all goes well. If it doesn't go well, you're going to get into September, October. So I don't necessarily want to bank on them. You know how development goes.
Sure.
And I've heard, if all goes well, we're gonna be building it. But if not, it could be 2 years away. Best case scenario. So I didn't necessarily want to count on any revenues from any new building this year and be super conservative. And then if we get that boom, great,
Right.
awesome. So that's kind of my thinking, and I think council and committee, you'll learn I'm more conservative and nervous, and I'd rather not over speculate and under speculate. So I don't necessarily want to.
I think that's wise.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's really my thinking on that.
That's all I've got.
Can I
Mike,
piggyback
thank
off
you.
of that really quick though, because on your permits and building zoning, you have less, but if they are starting to build, those are going to be done prior, so like, is that too low?
Well,
What would it be if you're going to build 29 homes, and you're going to have the permits before you ever start building, which should be done this fiscal year, correct?
there will be some building permits issued, and I can't speak to what our building permit schedule is like in terms of amount. It's not that much. So, our fee schedule, I'll be honest with you, I think that's something we got to get worked out as to, what our process is. And one thing I'm not used to is offing everything to the county. So, that's something I don't have an answer for you, to be honest with you. Meta would probably know better than I would in terms of like so is your question like what would the potential permanent
Well,
amount be?
you have on here your permits and fees in the general fund, I guess the first page, down 2,000 from last year at 3,000. But if all these homes are coming in, would that not generate more?
Yeah, and I think what you got to look at, like with these numbers, they're not baked in. They're really just projections. I don't know if one house is going to be built. So if money comes into that fund, that's awesome. So whether I could have put 10,000 in there, but I'd rather put less and expect less. It is kind of my thinking on
But
that.
if you have an X amount coming in on your income, would you have to bring the budget committee together to amend the budget to allocate those funds again?
No, I don't think so, because that's revenue.
For revenue,
Most
for
budgets
revenue,
you have to,
for revenue, no, but if you go to spend it, then yes. If
Yeah.
it's over a certain amount, the state has
It's like a 10.
it's like 10 grand or something, any budget adjustment on the sales end or the outgoing end of 10,000 or more needs
See,
a
the
budget.
school, they have to allocate all their expenses, and so if they get more money, then you have to come back and amend the budget. That's why I asked.
Okay.
Yeah, but if he's going to spend the more money, then he'll have to come back and ask for permission to spend it. So otherwise, it just is going to have to sit there.
Right.
As I
yeah.
understand it. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but that's how I've understood it from Dave.
Sounds like the short answer is, once again, it'll require a budget.
More than, yeah, because he's going to want to spend it more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we have that problem. I mean, that would be great. So,
Yeah.
um,
But yeah, it's just like the SCDs and all
Yeah.
that. With any development, there's all these things that come in. And that's why I kind of asked my question just
Yeah.
on the general fund, because that answers all the rest of
Yeah.
those things. Like, hey, we don't know if they're going to get a house in there or not this
Right.
year. And so hopefully they do, then it's great. If they don't, then the budget is still
right.
solid.
And that's what I was thinking, and I mean, I hope we get some development. I hope, you know, our permit fees are overflowing and our SDC charges, you know, within reason. I know it's a process. I don't
Yeah.
thread the needle, but
Oh, speaking of processes, my little idea where everybody gets to talk,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna do one of two things at this point. We're either gonna continue and go and take over the time that the council would otherwise have without a decision, even though the present agenda is mostly based on there being a decision made by this body. Or no. Now, what I've heard so far, due respect, sir, Mike, this group and this budget isn't ready. It's just not ready.
That's your opinion.
It is my opinion, thank you, sweetheart. A discrepancy in the calculation, well, I was kind of thinking, no, if you said that's what your message is, the number should have said it too, Mike. Due respect, that's the way it works, if you're going to be credible. If you're going to have a budget and a message, it ought to add up. Now, I'm willing to go with the good nature of everybody here, and I don't think Mike's trying to.
you're saying it's not adding up. Can you explain what you mean by
When
that?
I get done talking, I'll let you know, because right now I'm kind of upset, okay?
Okay.
For example, if you're gonna have a 4% increase, and you say you're gonna have a 4% increase, and the numbers don't add up 4%, and you come up with, well, I was kind of thinking. Okay, no. I want to ask you a question, and forgive me for not allowing the other people to take their time to speak. Mr. Chairman, I want to ask a question. What's the deadline
Well, we have until July 1st.
to get a budget through?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the problem with us having another budget meeting and another council meeting?
There's no problem with it, Mike. I budgeted the time so we could have another one.
Did you?
Yes, we have time.
We could call another meeting,
Okay.
or whoever the mayor's going to be at the end of the month, whether it be me or somebody else, could call another meeting to vote on this issue without any trouble. We could do it on our fourth Tuesday of the month, which is what we usually reserve for our work sessions. And that would be just kind of a no-brainer day to do it, because that's a date that we've already set aside for potential meetings. So that would be a possibility, Mike, to
Okay.
do.
And so that helps. So
And
we
that
don't
would be
have to, we don't have to
July 1st.
make the decision today, and we don't have to have this agenda for the council meeting either.
And Mayor,
That's
if I
correct.
may,
Yes.
because I know some things have been said, but under Oregon law, the city's budget use total resources, including beginning fund balances and current revenues, transfers and available resources to balance the budget. So, I'm not saying that you're wrong that didn't add up, but
Well, no,
but
I'm not,
it-
I asked why it didn't add up.
right.
I didn't ask, I did the math and it didn't add up. And I wanted to know what your reason was for
Right.
it, to be clear.
Which was a
And
fair question.
what I thought I heard your reason to be is that you were trying to be conservative with the number because you don't like to be to budget at the top.
Right.
And that's the theme that I got on every question that I asked you.
Yeah, and I'm not being
So-
critical, I'm just saying it's not out of balance in that sense.
So I'm personally okay with a conservative budget. That's what Dave did. I like to be conservative as well. I like numbers to add up, and when they don't add up, I need to know why. And that's why I asked you why. And Katie asked you the same question. Hey, that one is harder to quantify because there's not a percentage associated with it, but we have a feeling that that number could be low. But we've had those feelings in the past that a number should be higher or lower, and they come in lower or higher. Electricity is one that, and phone, cable, comes in lower than it usually does, than we think, because people aren't using cable as much as they used to. So that continues to dwindle, that fund. Marijuana is another one. It's a guess. I mean, it's kind of an educated guess, but it's a guess. So I agree with Mike that we should have numbers and we should have a good explanation as to why those numbers are there. That's why we're here, to hold you accountable for the budget and to hold the council accountable for the budget and the budget committee accountable for the budget. And that's why we have so many people on here, so we have so many eyes. And if your answers are good enough for the majority of to the good of the order, then fine. If not everybody agrees, then that's the way things go. But that's what I heard. I didn't hear
Right,
that. Hey,
and I want the council to, the revenue support the operating expenses, so, and what.
So if you're worried that people may not use as much water, or maybe the council won't approve that large of a percentage, which is very possible because none of these increases have been approved by the council. So we have to get through that as well. Then that works out to about 6%, what your number is. So you've got a little bit of fluff there in case the council says, whoa, 8% is too much. So that's how I kind of see it, Mike.
Well, thank you, Chad. And this is the kind of intelligent, insightful, and compassionate discussion I'm going to miss if you're not there next week.
I appreciate that.
So do I. That's what you've been doing. However, that's a different topic.
So hang
You
on.
mentioned that.
Your gal on the phone just chimed in?
Yes, she did. She said she agreed with what I said about you.
Oh, okay, very good. Sorry, I didn't want her to go missed because it's easy to miss the phone, right?
No, I didn't hear you. So sorry.
Personally, I would like a little bit more time. I have a lot of questions. So
I do too.
I am one that will tear a budget apart, so I like to ask a lot of questions so I know what exactly I'm looking for. So even looking at the agenda today, I was like, is this enough time to go through everything? And like I spent time outside of the committee going through budgeting, like it's on my computer, I have everything. My questions are written down here, so I think tabling it to move it to have more where we're not scrunched into a timeline would be more beneficial, at least for the council and for me personally. So
Yeah, and I'm not trying to shove this down anybody's throat.
And that's
This
perfectly
is
fine.
my first budget, y'all, and I'll tell you, this budget is confusing. What Dave, gave me was this, and said, good luck.
It's a lot less confusing than it used to be.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
I tried to provide as much information as I could to make sense of it, and I'm feeling, a little disappointed in how it's been received, to be honest with you, because I put a tremendous amount of work into trying to figure this thing out, and I'm not offended. That's your guys' job, I appreciate it, and I want you guys to know that. But,
So Mike, can I suggest something then? I mean, Katie's right, Mike is right. Maybe people need more time to go through it, but what I would suggest is go through it and then set up a time, schedule a meeting time with Mike to ask your questions and to get real thorough answers. And then hopefully you guys have the same questions and can get the same answers from Mike on a one-on-one basis so that when we come here, we're not all firing.
And I implore that, because I sent out 3 emails with a lot of information The only people that came to my office were Counselor Enright and Counselor Rollins, and then I had a brief conversation with Counselor Holman. So no one came to my office, no one called me, and so, you know, I did ask, you know, several times if anybody had questions, so.
Mike, I did send an email, so come on.
I came in.
And I didn't see that email,
I
to
didn't
be
ask
honest with you.
questions,
I
but
checked it. I did not.
I came in and I got it printed out so I can look at it.
Yeah,
But
and forgive me,
I,
Counselor Anderson did come in to get the packet, so.
And I reviewed it thoroughly, but my question was about the lawsuit and how we were going to pay
Right.
for that. And I wanted to ask it in this forum.
Right,
On
yeah,
purpose.
and again, I appreciate the questions. I don't feel attacked or anything. I just, you know, I mean,
yeah.
Put a lot of work into it.
yeah, I really have, and if there's a miscalculation, it certainly wasn't my intention, and it's certainly been run up the chain.
It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
but I can tell you I've sat in a lot of budget committee through the school, here through the city, even way before I was mayor, was on the budget committee, and this is the most engaged the budget I've ever seen a budget committee.
And
I
that's
think
good.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think I've parsed out a lot of information, and I think it makes a lot more sense to a lot of people, because the feedback I got from council members, from committee members, was we simply do not know what the hell's in the budget. I've been, you know, some members of the committee said, I've been on the budget committee for years, never knew what was in the budget. I just was scared to say anything. I rubber stamped it.
Well,
So, you know, I'm trying to be really transparent and, you know, help everybody understand what's in this budget, where our cash comes from, you know, how we actually support this city. And so I'm glad we're engaged. I mean, I think that's a great thing, you know, and I, you know, my chair is a tough one to be in, and I got to take the shot. So, Mike, you know, I appreciate you asking the tough question.
it's my job to provide the shot.
No, you know, I like you a lot, and I appreciate the
I
tough
would still
question.
like
Well,
to see
I-
your grades.
Out of fairness, for
Year to
years,
date,
I'm
year
sorry,
to
say
date
again?
what's?
From the last meeting, I asked if we could see year to date, so we can see where
Right.
we're parting for that, since we're coming up on the end of the year. I just find that beneficial when you're looking at a budget and you're planning for the next year.
Yeah, and you know, that's something, because Dave's doing a little consulting work with me on this. So apparently we work with Rebecca Price through September, and Mary, you probably know better than I would on this, that she tallies up the cash carryover by then, so we get an actual count on that. And
Yeah, this discussion has come up more than once in
So you
previous
guys have to wait
years,
for
and
the
it would be a wonderful thing to know. Mel Wagner was the last one who brought it up. Why can't we see year to date? Why can't we know
Right.
where exactly we're at?
because I asked that question too.
And the way the money comes in and the way the money goes out at the city level is not like a business. It doesn't get reconciled at the end of every month. And because you're waiting on the state to send you money. So money for, say for example, money from tobacco sales may not get from July or let's just say March, let's pick March, may not get here till September. So that number is going to be skewed off and it's going to show lower than what it really should be. And we don't know what the number necessarily should be until the state sends out the report. So that there's that huge lag in certain things that we can't reconcile. Now, the mobile home park and the RV park, we should be able to tell you right there. But when it comes to state money and county money that's coming in, it doesn't always come in real time.
Like the liquor fees and stuff, like we have a restaurant now with a full bar, so those are gonna probably be up, and it's budgeted about the same as last year too, so that's just my
Yeah,
question.
it's not that easy because it's not, as far as I understand the liquor sales, it's, you get based on your population. You don't get based on your actual sales in the town.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Say, we're at the time, we probably ought to make a decision. you understand, Mike, you did have another meeting set up for us, is that right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I honestly anticipated this was gonna be fireworks. So the one thing I have to do is give at least 5 days for a budget hearing and a budget committee, so, and the tricky thing with the paper is I have to have it in by Thursday. So I was anticipating I would get it in on the 11th for the 23rd meeting. Does that make sense? Because
The 23rd would be our normal work
Right.
session reserved date.
And so that's what I was actually anticipating, committee and council, that there would be a lot of questions in this one. And then that notice will appear in the paper on the 17th, because it's got to appear in the physical paper according to statute. And then we would meet on the 23rd.
So I have a question about the proposed increases. Those are outside of the budget. I believe the city council can vote on those tonight if they choose. And then they can be added into the budget if they are approved, correct? Am I correct? in that?
Right, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong there, I mean, I can project revenue forecast, but I could also be conservative. And I think that's where there's some, I don't know what you want to call it, misunderstanding or whatever. I don't necessarily, I can't project a 4% increase in the water revenues because I don't know if half the town's going to burn to the ground. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, and that's
what
where
I'm
you
saying.
as a city manager can present that message to us.
Right.
And maybe now that we've had a discussion of it, people have a better understanding
Right,
of
because
that.
I think they thought I was, my numbers were all wrong, but wrong is not really the right way to couch that. You can be conservative in your estimates, but you can't really bake in a 4% increase.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I I was trying to explain.
Sure.
I think you explained it much more eloquently.
I hope so.
So our next meeting will probably be,
The 23rd.
It will be the
it'll
23rd,
be the 23rd.
not probably.
What time?
Does 6 o'clock work better for everybody? Because that's when we tried to have the meetings, so that more people can get off work and actually attend.
Everybody okay with 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
No objection? Okay.
And just a quick question, do we all want to just bake it all together at 6 and budget committee, obviously?
And then we'll go into a regular council meeting after,
Yeah,
and then we'll vote to vote.
Okay, yeah.
okay, sounds good.
Okay, two things. First, I want to apologize for demonstrating a little attitude earlier.
No
It just seemed like
offense
the
taken.
thing. And second, thank you everybody for your participation this year. I take the motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take 2 minutes and then we'll go to the council meeting unless we don't need 2 minutes.
Well, what we just decided, does that mean that we're not going to work on the resolution?
There's no hearing.
No, we are. The stuff that's in the packet still holds true except for the approval of adopting the budget. That is,
If even, so Chad, can we do the water rates still?
yeah.
We can do everything, just not.
And if we do all of that stuff, it's gonna make our job easier.
That's what I was.
Because it's, this whole budgeting thing is always a guess.
Yeah.
It's always a guess.
I know, I'm getting worse, that's why.
And it used to drive Dave nuts.
Yeah.
Because he had no, he's like, well, I don't know if the council's gonna approve this.
And that's what I was meaning, like, I see why you were being conservative, because like, you didn't want us to go, oh my gosh, but then
Right up to right in front of it.
it definitely, right next to the, it did.
Yeah.
But,
No sweat.
yeah, but yeah.
I heard that.
The fees coming in.
Yes. It's Chad's mom. Everything.
I usually get my hair cut. Right-wing stuff that he was going on, but one of his ideas was
The county.
The county counts the votes.
The county did.
So it ends tonight.
It ends tonight in an hour.
I thought it was 8.
Is it 8?
It's usually
It's 8.
Okay, then
It's 8. I
it's
looked
8
this,
o'clock.
I checked this morning.
We'll probably know.
but now that our city.
We should know, I'm hoping, usually in a normal election, we would know tonight. They would have 80 to 90% of the vote counted by tonight. And they've already counted a bunch of votes, they just haven't released the final. And since there's only 420 registered voters in Echo, if everybody voted,
Yeah, it was like 135, it said it was like 31% of registered voters had
right,
voted.
that would be 31%. So they've got those, it's not going to be, and it's a hand count, they're not going to. Well, if you can vote for your dead relatives. But no, they printed their own ballots and they're hand counting them to keep the cost down. Because if they were to use the scanned ballot sheets, then the cost would be significantly higher. But it's got to be, it won't be official until all the votes are counted. It's certified by the county. So they got to have the election officials certified.
I'm gonna move this table.
James, can you share something with me? Okay. I can share with her. Okay, I guess I'll share with you.
Yeah, because
This is supposed to be turned into the city administrator, not an election. So this is not- Here we go. This is supposed to be turned into the city administrator and then disseminated out.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet it's
Share with me.
I did make that.
Where does this go? Let me disconnect. I don't think.
So was this?
We just did. Thanks. I think it's pretty. She said it was really intense. It wasn't turned in. Mike, just so you know, we got a packet of stuff turned in. Gina said it should have gone to the proper procedures to turn it into the city administrator and have the city administrator.
So we should, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and I guess it's, you guys already have it, but yeah, let me just. Did everybody get a copy of these?
Yes.
We're giving it to him because he has to hand it out to us.
It was, yeah, it wasn't legally done, it was supposed to be sent to him and he was supposed to send it to us. So,
To be part of the record.
yeah, so it could be part of the record.
We
But
can
it's, I
make it
guess,
part of the record for the next meeting. Okay, if everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does it count the same if I was holding onto the table?
Yes. Okay, welcome everyone on to the June City Council meeting. I would, this time, I would have a adjustment to the agenda. Bless you. Number 6 on your agenda states approval of resolution adopting a 2026-2027 budget. Since the budget committee did not come to a decision on that, we will not be forwarding that to the council, so that will not be part of the discussion tonight. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to invite public comment. This is on agenda items only, and please keep your comments positive, professional, clean. Please do not attack anybody or anybody in the crowd or anybody on the council. And please keep your comments positive and productive and under 5 minutes. So at this time, I invite public comment on agenda items. Yes. Please state your name and address as usual for the record.
Are we skipping approval of minutes?
Well, usually we start with...
Yeah,
Oh, you switched it up on me, Mike. Sorry. Usually we start with public comment, so...
That's my old, from my Washington days, so forgive me. We always did minutes right at the beginning, so.
Sorry. It's okay. Sorry, Mike. I guess I skipped one on it. I was just going off of...
Time out.
A creature of habit, I guess. So so number 2, sorry guys. Somebody was astute and paying attention. So the minutes from the May regular city council meeting. There's one thing, Mike, that I didn't see or missed in the Public Works. We had discussed with Scott about him kind of taking an inventory of the mobile home park and what would be needed to increase the usage of those lots.
Yeah, I can get that.
It does say it in the RV park discussion, though.
It
The council directed staff to continue researching electrical metering options, financial impacts.
yeah, but that's for the RV park. Because he was going to get the electrical installed.
Okay, I just kind of thought that.
Yeah,
Since we
I
talked
almost
to Scott
went with that,
in
but
that, okay.
it was under the RV park, and we
Okay.
kind of discussed that under Public Works.
It makes it more clear.
Any other?
One in the public comment on agenda items, Mike Duffy voiced his concerns about the RV park, and it's not in here.
Yes, I thought Mike had said something.
He did.
Maybe he did.
No, he
I'm
didn't.
sure he did.
Yeah.
So, okay.
He
Very
did,
good.
and I remembered, and
Good
that's why
job.
it stood out.
Yeah, I can get that.
But I can make a motion to approve the minutes as amended for the May 12th regular city council meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, Berlin made a motion to approve the May meeting minutes as amended. Janie has seconded. Joan, your vote.
Approve.
Jesse, your vote.
Yes.
Richard, your vote.
Yes.
Berlin, your vote.
Yes.
Maria
Yes.
and Janie.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. Same stuff still holds true.
Okay. Mike Duffy. Echo Main Street, P.O. Box 127. About the items on the agenda having to do with the budget. Can't speak for the whole budget committee, of course, but I think this is a timely gesture on the part of staff and the council. Go ahead and look at these issues now. budget has been, in spite of all the little details we talked about, that may or may not be ironed out, subsequently has been forwarded, and it indicates that these are necessary. So just want to indicate my approval for going ahead with this discussion on those matters.
Thank you, Michael. Yes.
Sorry, a little skip.
Take your time.
Slow on movement here. PT is not for chickens. Phyllis Shavelski, 221 West Main. I just have a question, and it's about the Transportation Committee. When Scott reported, I believe at the last meeting, that they were going to start putting out all the safety paraphernalia and slow signs around the school, and I haven't seen any activity. I'm just wondering if that's on hold. And I know he's not here, but I thought I would ask that question.
I'll make a point to bring it up.
Okay.
Okay, any other public comment at this time? Okay, seeing as there is none, we'll move on to, I better make sure I get this straight, committees. Any updates from any of the committees? I don't have an update on the art committee.
Nothing on the trail committee, but we should maybe after the meeting set a date where we could just talk about previous meetings year plus ago when we used to have meetings, and then we can maybe brainstorm ideas and that kind of stuff. So we don't have to do it right now, but try to get together if you're up for it. So then maybe we'll have an update for the next meeting.
Okay, very good. I don't see anything listed under old or new business. Does that mean there's nothing to discuss?
No, just if anybody had any bit, I combined those because we typically haven't had much in that section of our agenda. So I took liberty to combine them. If there was any old business that needed to be resolved or...
Usually if there is, they should get those requests in to get it put on the agenda so that the public knows that we're talking about it.
Okay.
But
and that's something I know in some of my traverses we were able to bring it up. And I don't know if that's different in Washington than Oregon. We may have been violating statutes because there was times a counselor would say, well, I've got some new business in general terms. I mean, that's something we can keep off. It's
I
a
don't
good
know about
discussion.
the law on that, Mike, but personally for me, I don't like to spring things on people if I can avoid it, unless it's an emergency. And if it's something that is important to, say, Maria or Joan or anybody on the council that it be discussed, it should be important enough to notify the public, is what I think. So that people that are interested in that topic they know that it's going to be on the agenda and they can make a point to get here.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think in the future I'll leave that off unless anybody wants to bring something, but then that sort of begs the question, is it an agenda item that we can bring?
I'd leave it on the agenda, and then if there is something, then just list it under old or new business wherever it would fit. And if there isn't anything, then we'll just skip right over it. But then it has its placeholder.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is, we're skipping number 6. So number 7, approval of resolution 5/30/2026, adopting levying taxes for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. This is another just a housekeeping item. The rate stays the same unless we take it to the voters. So.
Right. Pretty much par for the course here.
I move approval of resolution
Second.
5/30/2026.
I second it.
Okay, so Richard has made a motion to approve resolution 530, 2026, adopting levying taxes for 2026-2027 fiscal year. Joan has seconded. Maria, your vote?
Yes.
Janie, your vote?
Yes.
Richard, your vote?
Yes.
Jesse, your vote?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
And Berlin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next one is another housekeeping item, Resolution 531, 2026, to receive state shared revenue. So this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier about liquor tax and marijuana tax and those kind of things. So we have to have a resolution to actually receive those.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 531, 2026, receiving 26.7
Second.
state share revenue.
Okay, Jesse made a motion to approve resolution 531, 2026, to receive 2627 state shared revenue. Richard has seconded that. Richard, your vote?
Yes.
Berlin, your vote?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Janie?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we have Resolution 532, 2026, increasing the water rate and the sewer rate. So, we had a resolution to increase the water by, I think it's 3% every year.
It's 4%. actually.
4% every year, okay. And we haven't had one to do the sewer rate. We haven't raised the sewer rate since we lowered it 3 years ago. So if you guys remember, since we got those grants, we lowered the sewer rate from $75 a month to $60 a month. And now we haven't raised those rates for 3 years, and inflation's catching up to us. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you to kind of explain what's going on with the water.
Right, so the water rates have been baked to increase, as council knows, essentially for 5 years in a row, I believe, so this will be the second year. So what we've got going on, as everyone knows, is phase 3 of the water master plan. So what Business Oregon really forced us to do was acquire a $100,000, what they call bridge loan, in case there's any overtures, which was surprising to me. It's just part of the process. So we've been talking to their fiscal analysis gentleman, who's quite a stickler. I mean, more than the budget committee. Just kidding, budget committee. So we've talked to him quite a bit. Myself and Dave Slatt have talked to him. So what he's telling us is, what would make them comfortable based on the numbers and projections that they're using, and they use very conservative projections as well, that we should increase our water rates beyond the 4% in order to cover the usage of the entire $100,000. Now, will we use the entire $100,000? I really hope not. One thing we're in discussion with them is potentially making it $75,000, so it doesn't necessarily have to go up that high. We're waiting to get an answer up the chain with Business Oregon if they can do that. Long story short, and Scott Morris was in on this conversation, as was Dave Slatt when we were talking about some of the processes and the numbers that they were looking at. We can unravel this additional 4% once the project's over. We know we haven't used that $100,000 and we don't necessarily need it. So that's the way it's been explained to me. This additional 4% is sort of like an insurance policy, if you will. The impact to the ratepayers is about $3.60 when you look at the totality of the 8%. We certainly could, I was thinking about next year's budget. We certainly could not raise next year's 4%. If we maintain the 8%, I'm very mindful of ratepayers. Every dollar counts these days, especially with gas prices and whatnot. Could we use the money? Of course. Infrastructure is expensive, and putting away reserves is always a challenge. So that's really what's on the floor is the totality of this $100,000 bridge loan, very conservative revenue forecasting, and the ability and necessity to keep this $100,000 bridge loan in place as this Phase 3 water project comes to a conclusion. So, and that's why you see the 8%.
Yeah, the additional 4%.
Right,
That's why we
exactly.
see that. And we're seeing the rate increase also because we haven't seen any growth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's one of the challenges of lack of growth, and we haven't had a tremendous amount of growth over the years. So the only way we can generate revenue is going to our ratepayers once again. And I really believe in incremental growth, smart growth, but we definitely need some here in the short term to offset some of the pressures being put on, just by inflation, and it's the ratepayers that really pay the price, obviously.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment?
Yes, Joan, of course.
So as I reviewed the rate increase and looked at the budget, as you just previously stated, we have had no growth in ECHO, no economic base or tax levy based growth. Therefore, in order to pay for increase in the PERS, increase in the insurance for the staff, as well as other inflationary increases, there's no other way I see in my mind to do that. As well as we're looking at a pretty hefty lawsuit right now that we're all aware of with additional lawyer fees that we don't have in money for, that we can't do without increasing our rates. So if we're going to look at these increased fees that we have, that we're up against, then we're going to have to pay for it somehow. And to me, right now, in the city of Echo, the only way we pay for these increased fees is increasing our utilities. And that is just the unfortunate where we are at if we are hit with these increased costs. Some of them we can't control, some of them can be controlled by the people and residents of Echo. If the residents of Echo choose for us to spend money on things like lawsuits, then we have to charge more money to be able to pay for that. So in my opinion, looking at these resolutions and these increased fees, this is very conservative to what we may need to be bringing in to be able to pay for our increased costs.
Councilor, you're correct, 100% correct, and our staff supports the water infrastructure, the sewer infrastructure through utility bills, through even Stanfield. When you think about the support they give us through the public works contract, and even the 4% increase that they're giving us is pretty generous on their part. It could certainly be more, and I'll say Scott, he gives us 110% of his time, not just 70% because he's Stanfield. So I'll say they probably could charge us more. I don't want to give them any ideas, but they give us a great service. I mean, they really do. We're very blessed to have Stanfield, a great partnership with them. So with that being said, yeah, I mean, and that's what keeps the city manager up at night, and I think that's why I probably budgeted very conservatively this year. I'm conservative anyway, but in that regard, we've even tried to cut cable. We're doing the little things. We're cutting cable out at the golf course, so we can just stream. And we came up with a savings of $300 a month that Annette and I worked on, and Tanya, and it'll work just as well. And looking at cutting paper and supplies, and you'll notice we didn't have any capital expenditures. We'd love to have nifty equipment and things of that nature, but so that's what happens when you don't have growth. You rely on your ratepayers to support infrastructure, because that's what we need.
So, Mr. Mayor, do you need a motion to approve these rate increases?
Yeah, we will need a motion, if everybody's, if anybody else would like to chime in, I'd love to hear. I'm sure the people would love to hear as well. Rates are always a touchy subject. You hear about them when they go up, but when they go down, it's crickets. And so with this rate increase, you're going to hear about it. So, but I don't have any other option. I talked to Dave earlier today. Sorry, Mike.
No, it's okay. I've been called.
It's been a long week for me, so I apologize. But I talked to Mike earlier today about this business organ thing. I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. I mean, it just sounds dumb to me. I mean, seriously, we've got the money in reserves. We can do this. It's just, but we were going to try to maybe see if we could get less of a loan and less of an increase. Because what if the odds of us using this loan are slim to none, really. I mean, there is a chance. That's why we voted it in. But why should we be taking everybody's money for a year if we're not going to use it? The people could use that money instead of sitting in our bank account. I mean, this is something our governor does. She sits on the money forever and gets interest on it and then uses it for other things. So I think the people can use their money a lot better than we can. But I don't know that we have that ability with Business Oregon.
Yeah, it was, we had several conversations with them, and it's just interesting how they're sticking to their guns, because I made that same point. What if we just walked away from the loan? And it was like, well, if the project goes over, we're stopping the project. I mean, not saying it was a threat, but it was kind of like a warning that C&E Trenchant can just pull up and say, we're done. So, and that, is it worth, infrastructure that gets us, to 2026 levels and, to stop the project, for something.
Well, I do like your idea of next budget cycle looking at not increasing.
Right.
Not increasing, leaving it the same, yeah.
And I think that's a promise we can make. You don't want to make promises all the time, but it's something for next year. It probably would have happened next year, and that's something I'll say in my conversations with Anderson Perry. They recommend a 4% increase on infrastructure costs each year at a minimum, just to keep up with inflation, which can be, as we all know, 3 to 5%, sometimes more. So that's something, and that's sort of how I wanted to frame it to the public was, I know I'm conservative in my nature, so I hate taxes, and I just, eats me up to the core to have to do this, but I also see opportunity in ECHO, to do really smart growth, and I see the future is bright, so I see taking that pressure off ratepayers, in the future, and as they help us now, we'll definitely, I think, help them in the future.
Yeah. The 29 homes would certainly
Yeah.
revolutionize
Right.
the water and sewer fund and the public safety fund. And
Oh, it would be huge, and I've had interestingly enough, I've had a few people come in from the Echo Hills development, talking about annexing in, and, I know that's a long way off, and it was a conversation, but I did some of the math on that, and, obviously there's infrastructure that would need to be built and things of that nature, but, things like that can have a huge impact in the sense of, it takes the pressure off ratepayers. I'm never going to get rich working as the city administrator, so it's really not about that, for me. Like, we get all this, it's really about taking the pressure of distributing those costs and, building better roads, sewers, water, for our citizens. So that's my hope. That's what gets me excited.
any other discussion?
Like Joan said, it's kind of, I hate to do it, but it's one of those things where where else are we going to get any revenue when we're not growing? And there's other possible things that could come up in the city, so.
Maybe I'm gonna jeopardize on the world and face
Yeah.
at the very end.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, we'll get rid of our brown water.
yeah.
Maybe. It's better.
So,
Well,
it's
that's
better.
supposed
it's
to.
hard, because we all have to pay it,
Yeah.
just like everyone else, so,
Yeah.
And I like a nice green yard, so
yeah.
there you go. Okay. Well,
So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 532-2026, increasing the water utility rate 8%, the sewer utility rate 4%.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. So Joan made a motion to approve Resolution 532-2026 to increase the water utility rate to 8% and the sewer utility rate 4%. Janie seconded the motion. So Jesse,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Berlin,
Yes.
Janie,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, and the next is the public safety fee, Resolution 533-2026. So Mike, I'll turn this one over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, this is a public safety fee. It's not necessarily a tax, but it goes to support Chief Zumwalt's crew and the police officers from Stanfield to help us obviously police our city. They do a great job. Also, I'll note 911's increasing once again. That's increasing by 6% this coming year, and they've been pretty vocal and communicative about that. That pushes that total cost to right around $14,000. So that's another cost that we'll have here in the near future that's increasing. So this safety fee can be used to pay the 911 fee, obviously, as well as police officers. We haven't raised it, I think, in 4 or 5 years. It's been quite a while. It's $6, and I know that it's a substantial increase at $10, and certainly council can adjust that number if they think it's too high. At $10, it brings in an additional $12,000 a year, roughly. I think we took total generation is about 28 to 30 grand, if you round up to 30 grand, if you do the math. Again, that supports our police department, 911, depending on how you defray that.
Right, and police went up 4% this year, which is about how many thousand
So we're
dollars?
talking, I think it was right around 5,000 if you round up.
And 911 went up.
About
6%.
11 to close to, let's say, 12 to 14,000.
So another $3,000
Yeah,
roughly.
exactly.
So you're looking at about an $8,000-9,000 increase.
Absolutely.
Then.
So
How often do we have to increase the public safety?
you don't ever have to increase it. We haven't increased it in probably 5 years.
Yeah.
Is what we. That was our research, right? Was it about 5 years that we did that? It was 5 years. It might have been Dave that told me that. But anyway, regardless, it's been quite a few years since we've increased that fee. Stanfield's is right around $13-14. So theirs is substantially higher. I mean, obviously they have a larger population, but proportionally, we could really use it to support our public safety. I mean, it really.
And if 911 goes up, is going up. that's gonna be-
Yeah, I mean, our fees are going up,
Yeah.
what do we say, about 8,000 between police
Right.
and 911. And if we raise the public safety fee to $4 a month, then for the whole year, that raises $11,500 roughly. That's not exact numbers, but that's rough.
Yeah.
So you're offsetting the cost of the increase in police.
Right.
and 911, and they're gonna go up again 4%. I
Yeah.
think Stanfield has just a resolution that it's gonna go up 4% every year. Isn't that correct, Chief, or is that not?
It's the same way, it's not set to go up, it's
Oh, it's not set, they just happen to do that every year.
by ordinance, so it has to be a
So odds are they'll go up again next year.
Yeah.
And that was my thinking, Mayor. Really, it kind of defrays some of the costs and keeps pace with the increases as much as we can.
If you go up by $2 on the public safety fee, it's $5,700. So you're in the hole about $2,300 with a $2 increase to the public safety. So you'd have to have at least 3 to offset the cost. Just some math,
Yeah.
just throwing numbers out there for you guys to chew
No,
on.
that's great. So that really was my thinking. You know, you're kind of offsetting costs to try to keep pace with what everybody else is charging
Yeah.
us, and they don't have mercy on us because we're a small town. They send the bill.
And here again, if we had some more people paying the public safety fee and more people paying general fund taxes, then that would help offset the
Yes.
need to increase the public safety fee. I mean, it's just a recurrent thing.
Yes, it is a recurring
Yeah.
theme.
There are less criminals, it would help too.
That's
And if less people would call 911, we get
That's
billed, that's part of
We get
their
billed for every, the
911
fire
call.
department gets billed for every 911 call that
Mhm.
we get billed out to.
Yeah, for fire related, yep.
So that's about it there in terms of the whys, and it's really about keeping pace with the increases and really just defraying some of the costs, because even when collectively you look at the 30 grand that this generates, we still have 70 missing from what we've got to pay our police contracts. So, you know, rounding the numbers, essentially we pay about 100 grand a year between police officers and 911. So that's kind of how I look at that bucket. So we still have to figure out how to pay an additional 70 plus grand. So again, it's keeping pace, and you know, the conservative side of me hates raising it to $10, but it's like we're all feeling that pressure. It's just you know, wages, inflation, you know, the training that police officers have to go through, the liability,
The gas to drive around.
the gas, I mean, everything. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, not to make excuses for the public, but yeah, I mean, and everybody's household has seen it. These are conversations we're all having around the dinner table.
Well, I make a motion to approve resolution 533, 2026, increasing the public safety tax.
Second.
Okay, so Janie made a motion to approve Resolution 533, 2026, to increase the public safety fee. Jesse seconded. Berlin?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Janie?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, on to number 11 on the agenda. This is there's nothing we can really do about this one. It's another housekeeping deal. Approval of Resolution 532, 2026, increase the garbage rate. As you guys know, we worked out a deal with the garbage company to not raise our rates by 50% in 1 year. We took it over 3 years, and so this, I believe, is probably our 3rd year on that contract.
Yeah, I think it is the inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 534-2026, increasing the garbage rate.
One second.
Ooh, I think Maria got you by just a bit. Well, I haven't written her name down yet, so we'll give it to her. All right, so Berlin made a motion to approve Resolution 534, 2026 to increase the garbage rate. Maria seconded. Joan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Janie?
Yes.
Berlin?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Motion carries. And then we have approval of the intergovernmental agreement with Hermiston IT Department to provide IT services for City Hall. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So hopefully, council, you had a chance to read the staff report that I put in the packet. So been having a lot of conversations with them and over in Hermiston, and they actually gave us a much better deal, which is nice. So the hourly rate goes from 200 to 130. So this is something we worked out, and you know, there's sort of a built-in retainer that we've already had anyway. So we've got a minimum of four hours that is just kind of built into the contract. Instead of 200, it's 130, which is great. So they didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. But I'll say, like, I have been doing my homework and shopping around with some private sector folks. I'm too much of a nervous Nelly, I think, right now to go to private sector, because I've heard some nightmares that we've had private sector in here. I know Hermiston has a great backbone. They've given us good service, you know, every time we need something. So it has been something I've been exploring, but I don't think I'm ready to go private sector, because Hermiston really handles a lot of jurisdictions and they understand the process. And I feel like Jordan is really trying to do us a solid here and give us a pretty good deal. And because I think we spent about 10 grand last year on IT services. So if, you know, knock on wood, everything stays pretty solid, you know, we can cut that cost probably 6 or 7 grand with this contract, is what I'm hoping. Because we try to service everything in-house, and if, you know, if the printer's not working, we're pretty good wizards at it. Like, we don't call IT. That is really good, and I'm learning, so.
Let me get this straight. We're getting good service, and this is a lower rate.
Yes, sir.
I move approval
So, yeah,
of IGA with Hermiston.
I'll second.
That was you who seconded, Jesse?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rich made a motion to approve the IGA with Hermiston IT for 2026, 27, and 28. Is that correct, Mike? I got that right?
yes, sir.
Okay. And Jesse has seconded. Richard, your vote?
Yes.
Jesse, your vote?
Yes.
Berlin, your vote?
Yes.
Maria, your vote?
Yes.
Janie, your vote?
Yes.
Joan, your vote?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, so at this time we have public comment. At this time you can comment on anything you'd like. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. Same standards apply as before. So do we have any public comment? Yes.
Kent Madison, 28647 Madison Road, Echo. On the water item during the budget, you'll probably find that difference was we bought a lot of water in the development project, and we're not projected to buy any water this year, so you'll probably find that's your water number is the decrease in that is because we're not buying. I think we spent $6,000 or $8,000 for water last year. One thing. Second thing is, remember, it's a budget. It's a snapshot in time of what you anticipate your cost to be. It's absolutely nothing. If the place burns down tomorrow, the whole budget's different. So all you really know in a budget is your actuals of last year. And I would encourage you to continue to keep accurate track of your actuals throughout the year, including line items like RV park expenses and mobile home park expenses. And so you really know what your cost of operations are on those enterprises. And the next item is as you guys all know on the council, when we did our development and our expansion up top, we paid, Laura and I volunteered to pay 100% of the cost associated with that development, including the cost of the city's research into it and legal fees and engineering fees. And we did that because we didn't want the taxpayers to have the impact that we were seeing in the budgets. But we weren't required to do that. And so in light of that, we're going to go ahead and ask our attorney to research for you guys, so you don't have to pay to research it. Can you pass a resolution that would require citizens who want to have expenses that the city has to incur for their own public benefit or their own private benefit, could you require them to have to reimburse you? I don't know if you can legally in the state of Oregon whether you can pass that resolution, but we'll do that research for you and pay for that, so you don't have to pay for it. But if we do find out that you can have a resolution that would require people to pay, reimburse the city for costs associated with their personal vendettas or their personal ideas or their personal benefits, then I would encourage you to do so. But we'll research that for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Hey, any other public comment? Yes.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Vicente Escalante. I live at 310 North Wilson Street. Coming up as a concerned resident, I'm not sure if a lot of you get or listen to NPR, OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting. But there was a story that came out, I think it dropped today or yesterday. Federal judge clears path for Eastern Oregon nitrate litigation. And this is all public record. It kind of breaks down that certain business entities essentially were doing things to the environment that affects all of us. Essentially it affects the lower Umatilla Basin, groundwater, the kind of groundwater that we pump out from our wells, from my understanding. And it breaks down like who they are. And so this is all public record, right? We have Columbia River Processing. We have Portland General Electric, big corporates. 3 Mile Canyon Farms, the Port of Moro, Lamb Weston Holdings, and Madison Ranches. What I'm coming up here is, as a concerned resident, is I'm worried about the type, I'm all for, contrary to belief, I'm all for development and growth, but at the right increments, doing it correctly, making sure there's good public input. But what I'm worried about is when we let, entities come in and, worried about the quality of business that will, be conducted within city limits. Because, that affects the residents. And, if there's an entity that's, involved in some sort of litigation and then they're trying to do business within town, as a resident, that's kind of concerning. Because, that affects us all. If something's going on, in another part, in another county, but then, it's kind of hard not to overlook that. Which, kind of brings me to, another thing. Like I started the recall, not for any personal vendetta, because it is my legal right as a resident to do so. If you don't like the way people talk about you as an elected official, then probably not.
Hey, hang on, Vicente.
Hold on,
You're walking a fine line.
Well, per my constitutional right, I am speaking.
I am too.
No,
and
you're on my time. Hey, Chad, you're on my time.
I'm not taking this time away from you.
Okay. Yep. And so, again, it is, a resident's legal right. I know if I was elected and someone didn't like me, I wouldn't say I don't care, but I look within, seeing what am I doing that would cause, residents to lose faith? Am I doing something illegal, unethical, some sort of conflict of interest? Then, and it's hurting people, then it's probably something I should take a step back. Like, maybe it's best that I'm not in this kind of position. Because over the last 3 years, and as I mentioned before, when I had my Watergate fiasco of 2023 in March, it was shown that my household that was vacant used 357,000 gallons. It's an entire cycle. And that's when I took interest in this town. I've had interest in this town since I was born. And all this to say is, if you're an elected official, you're held to a high standard. And if you're doing business that isn't good and that is ethical or questionable, then that's something you should really look at. Look within yourself. What are your morals? And if you don't think that you're doing anything wrong, then there's agencies that will check and see if you are doing something wrong. And so, we wouldn't be in litigation if input was taken correctly, taken steps. It's not rocket science. I'm not saying, it's super easy to run a town. And it's not. But, we're not Portland. We're not Hermiston. We're a small town. Residents, they're not against growth. But it's how you do it. And, with that being said, just think about, think of the residents. I know we need growth, but thank you.
Hey, any other public comment?
I'll try to be faster.
You've already stated your name and address, so you're good.
Okay.
Yes.
On a more positive note, I want to thank the council for all you have done, especially you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Deep breath. And I wanted to update you on Echo Heritage and what's happening at the church. Lots and lots of good things are happening out there. I know we're not within the city limits, but the city and everybody have always been very positive on the things we've done. We've installed a new cross. We've gotten the property behind the church. We're going forward with getting grants to perhaps get a community center built in the next couple of years. We just got another $25,000 grant for the grant writer sitting back there. So things are moving forward, and we appreciated everybody who was able to come and support the summer solstice party that Echo Ridge Cellars generously hosted. And that's what a good business partner does. They give back to the community. They don't charge us anything to be there. And we much appreciate that, and we much appreciate the support from everybody in the city. And again, thank you, council members, for all you do.
Thank you, Phyllis. Any other public comment? Yes.
Gina Sager, 33229 Marble Street. I'm just going to read it. I have been attending these meetings, and I am increasingly concerned by the amount of incomplete information and misinformation being repeated regarding permanent open space. I'm going to be direct, because this issue matters. I have taken the time to review the documents and follow up when statements did not appear to be accurate. I am asking the council to do the same. Please review the meetings where you voted to keep the zoning the same, and the meeting where you later voted to change the map. Then compare those discussions with the documents I have provided you. One repeated claim is that ECHO did not have its own zoning map, or that the map was somehow incorrect. This is not accurate. ECHO did have its own zoning map. We are not simply relying on the county's map. ECHO's map showed this area as permanent open space. Diane called Dave after hearing about the missing map, and he said he had located it. There should have been several copies around the city hall. Another misleading insinuation is that ECHO is working from an untouched 1970s comprehensive plan. That is also not accurate. The plan and the map have been amended over the years to comply with Oregon law. The public is not objecting because the plan has never changed. The concern is with major zoning changes that were not supposed to happen during this process. The record shows permanent open space in the original comprehensive plan. It shows permanent open space on the original map and in the codes. It still appears in the final comprehensive plan, and it appears on the final map online. This issue has also been framed as though the city is taking something away from private property owners. That is backwards. The property owners purchased the land with existing zoning and the comprehensive plan designations already in place. Property rights exist within the zoning that applies to the land when it is purchased. The mayor and the planner have discussed this issue as though those of us supporting permanent open space are trying to change the zoning of private property owners. This is not what is happening. We are not asking the city to impose a new restriction. We are asking the city to leave the zoning exactly as it was when those property owners purchased the land. We own the effluent land. I cannot simply build whatever I want on it because I have property rights. Zoning matters. Property owners can apply for changes, but that does not mean the city should remove a long-standing designation without a clear public interest reason. At the meeting where permanent open space was removed, the facts were that permanent open space was in the comprehensive plan, it was on the map, and the council had already voted to leave the zoning as it was. In my opinion, that should have ended the issue. The community believed that vote meant the zoning would remain the same. Instead, permanent open space was later removed. The mayor stated that the land was always open space and never permanent open space. That statement is incorrect. This was not some casual mistake or handshake deal. This was careful, considered policy. My mother served on the committee that helped establish it. The reasons included the slopes, the integrity of the feed canal and the furnished ditch, preserving open space, and protecting Echo's rural character. I also strongly disagree with calling this a scrivener's error. A scrivener's error is not something that happened, that appears in the original plan, appears on the map, remains in place for decades, and still appears in the final comprehensive plan. If this was truly an error, then when did the error occur? Who made it? Why was it retained for around 50 years? I believe the council has been given incomplete and inaccurate information on this issue. I am asking you to look at the actual record, not just the explanations being given now. Changing historical zoning under the claim that it was a mistake, especially after the council voted to keep zoning the same, is wrong.
Thank you, Gina. Any other public comment at this time? Yes. You, Mike.
Just want to stretch my legs. Remember a while back, the recycle bins had the separators in it, right? You put the green glass and the white glass, and then you go out there and you sort your, like this and this. And then you go outside and you look at the side of the bin, and all the latches are open. When they come, it's all going to go in one big pile. Remember that? And so I asked them, I said, what happens to the glass? And nobody really knew. And I don't think we ever did resolve it. It's obviously not a big deal. Now we have dumpsters. You don't get cardboard and metals and what. You got one dumpster that does everything. And one old boy the other day said, well, it doesn't matter. They take them all down there and they put them in the dump anyway. And I said, well, I don't know about that. So I called. And there's a place now for regional people to take their recyclables. It's down in the valley someplace. Clatskana, I think, or someplace over there. Catlin, I don't remember where. And they have devices down there that'll sort this stuff. And I bring this to the council as a public issue, saying, maybe could we get a little clarity? This might be a newsletter item or something. A little clarity on what really happens to the recyclables for our community. And in any case, until then, I'm going to keep putting them in just like the little signs say. Okay. I want to underline a couple of things. Really glad to see Kent here. And the budget is just a snapshot. In fact, so is the current status of the zoning and the comprehensive plan. It's a snapshot. And I've heard argued both ways now. We should stick with the 1970s version because it's pure and all that. And then the other side says, well, it's not pure. Well, it's not. I mean, it's been modified many times. But you have to just be able to do the best you can with what you've got at the moment. And if the majority says, that's what it's gonna be, then that's what it's gonna be. And in this case, we decide that these people who have offered to volunteer their time are the ones that are gonna make those decisions for us. Not the 200 people that you went out and stirred up on a phony petition. Not the 75 people that you stirred up on a different, by the way, I say phony because finally they figured out how to write a petition. I don't know who wrote it for them, but they did finally figure out how to write one, at least part of it. I noticed there were some procedures missing, and that's why I sent a couple of letters recently. But it's a snapshot. And whether it's the budget or it's the zoning, you just have to do the best you can with what you got. Right then. Because it is going to change. And I think that's only fair to say. Now, if something happens, and we end up getting a new mayor pretty soon, I'd like to say a couple of things about that. First, I appreciate all of you, each and every one of you, and I mean that sincerely, every single person. Maria, I'm looking at you too. I appreciate everybody that takes their time and comes over here. It's not easy to come to these meetings sometimes. Thank you for your service. Second, Mayor, I don't think there's hardly not many people in this room who could have done what you did. And thank you for your service. And I'm out of time.
You're 15 seconds.
You know, I forgot what I wanted to say last. It was good, too. It's really positive.
Thank you, Mike. Hey, any other public comment? Okay, seeing as there's none, we'll move on to City Manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report other than been working on the budget, and that's been pretty time consuming. And thank you to the committee and to council for reviewing the notes, and appreciate the feedback, and looking forward to kind of getting it through the finish line, and making sure that everybody's comfortable with it, and if any citizen or anyone wants to come, my door's always open. And with that being said, I've been meeting a lot of folks who've been coming to City Hall, and everybody's been very welcoming to me. So really appreciate, the welcoming nature of the people of not Sunnyside, but of Echo. But yeah,
It must be contagious. Huh?
I know it does. You say that word so many times, but no, Echo's been great, and I just, people have for how do you like Echo? And sincerely, I've really enjoyed it. People have been really nice and just super welcoming. So it's fun to come to work every day, and work for a community that truly cares. And I'll say in my traverses around the Northwest, a lot of people know about Echo. It's really amazing, and I'm always surprised. And my wife works in dental in Tri-Cities, and she services Umatilla County. There's no oral surgeon in Umatilla County apparently, but she sees a lot of people from Echo and from this area, and everybody has fond things to say about Echo, which is really nice to hear. So, but I just kind of wanted to send that positive message, and thank everybody in the community for welcoming me and making coming to work fun. And staff has been great, working hard. So. Just wanted to let council know really enjoying coming to work every day.
So Mike, I don't see on the agenda, and I missed this earlier, I apologize, Public Works and Police.
I was anticipating a long discussion about budget, so they're certainly welcome to come up and give a report. Scott's not here today, so that was my thinking. We were going to be engrossed in the budget.
So since you're city manager and we're on your report, there was a question posed earlier this evening about Public Works and maybe you know the answer, what is the status of the traffic safety items around the school? Because
Yeah, that is something.
that was reported it was going to start, so.
I'll be 100% honest with the budget. I forgot about it, and I will check with Scott first thing in the morning. Because, it just kind of rang my bell when we started talking about that. So let me check with him in the morning first thing, and I'll send a blanket email to council to let them know.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can I
sure.
ask a question?
Of course.
So Mike, I'm just, with the next newsletter, maybe you can give an update to the public on where we're at with that safety in the newsletter. I'd appreciate that, so all the community is aware of what we're doing to protect. Last city council meeting, there was a lot of discussion on speeding on certain streets, and we were gonna look into some of that. And so maybe we could have a section on, hey, how we're keeping everybody safe.
Right,
And-
okay, that sounds
and
good.
go into that, that'd be great.
Okay.
And then I have one other thing on a different subject. Chad, is it okay for me to ask Mike this?
Yeah, if it pertains to, go for it. If you're out of line, I'll holler
Yeah, if I'm
at
out of line, no. So, Mike, as well as working on the budget and all the time your people have been putting in on that and you, and so thank you very much for your attention to detail and what you're doing. I also know your staff is putting a lot of extra time in on gathering and photocopying documents and gathering that. I would like an accounting at the next meeting of how much time has been put into this and the hourly rate associated with that time, so we as the council have a better understanding of the cost of that time to the city. Because when they're working on these things, they're not working on other city business. So I would appreciate that at the next meeting.
So you're talking in reference to the newsletter, correct?
No,
Or just-
the lawsuit.
Oh, okay, gotcha, absolutely. Sure.
Was I on line?
Nope.
Thank
That
you.
100% pertains to the city manager. Good job.
Any other questions?
No, I just had a police issue, but
Yeah, well,
um,
we just had a lot of discussion last meeting. Joan touched on it about speeding and code enforcement and that kind of stuff. So but there's no police report on our agenda, so I can bring it up at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly Chief Zumwalt can answer any questions you might have as far as process goes, or what the next steps. I know we put a little blurb in the newsletter, hey, be mindful, and so that process does need to be fleshed out. And I need to meet with Chief to kind of figure out what is the game plan for executing that.
you're talking ordinances and things
Yes,
like that.
good,
Because
yeah.
we did discuss as
Mhm.
a council that we
Yeah.
wanted to give direction to start picking like one a month to kind of educate people on and kind of be a focus, I think. And now with the newsletter, that would be a great vehicle to be able to use to send.
Yeah, and I can certainly work with you, Mayor, to figure out maybe our first one, and I can work with Amanda, who handles a lot of code enforcement issues.
Mhm.
And that is sort of summer-esque, if you will, as we're getting into summer. And the natural one is kind of weeds and grass growing too high, and dogs out on those are the couple that come to mind right away, because I actually had a dog that I opened City Hall the other morning, and a cute little dog ran right into City Hall. And so I've been noticing a lot of dogs off the chain. Fortunately, it was a super cute, nice dog, and I probably would have taken him home, but we did have to chase him out of the city. So those kind of things. So my apologies if I did not follow up on that. So we'll get to work on that.
And in regards to public safety also, and that maybe it's like code enforcement things we could address when you discuss it with Mr. Mayor and Amanda. I think Chad mentioned weeds. We are seeing a lot of high windstorms. And I know in city limits of Echo, we have not had a fire code when people can't burn, or burning zone, like in many places. So maybe some reminders, and I also know we have in our ordinances where a car cannot sit within city limits for a certain amount of time, but I do have noticed several vehicles or old vehicles with weeds growing up around them. They're fire hazards
Right.
within city council. And I'm wondering if maybe with summer coming on, I would like to propose that's one of the first things we look at is how do we enforce the old vehicles, fire danger around weeds and things sitting around.
Okay. It's a good place to start. Okay.
Yeah. And when you call Stanfield police, the regular number, if there's nobody answering the phone, it seems to go to 911 dispatch. And I don't know if it's the time of the day or if it's just a manpower thing, but those 911 calls, I'm wondering if they get counted against the city when it comes to 911 budget.
That is a very good question, but I can find that out.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Anything else for Mike? Thanks, Mike. Okay, so at this time, we'll excuse everybody. Thank you all for coming, and the council will take a little 5-minute break and then move into executive session.
I ran out the door, 4:40, 20 minutes.
Somehow we changed
We talked about
Yeah.